So, my name is Cristaliz Arroyo, and I have been diagnosed with bipolar depressive disorder. I very closely related to that when I was diagnosed, and I dealt with self harm and suicide, and peer support and family support has helped me through it all. I was diagnosed with bipolar actually just a few years ago, and I was hospitalized. I did know that I had problems within me that, of course, I didn't resolve, and that I did need therapy for. But therapy for just half an hour once a week wasn't enough for me. And so I found this place where there were peers, people that have been through very similar experiences as me. And I couldn't believe the fact that I can actually openly talk about my self-harm and suicidal ideations. That to me was huge. I didn't even think that would be a thing. I know a lot of people don't like to talk about these things, and at the beginning I didn't either because it was just something for me a taboo to talk about. I know it happens to be now a taboo now that I've been exposed to the peer network, having all these supports. There's a lot of people that do want to talk about it, but in other places they just can't. And when it comes to family, it's very difficult to talk about these matters, especially to, my parents and other family members that I love so much. When I first started coming to the center where my peers were, people that have the lived experience that talk to me about all these things, I got this confidence within me, all this support that I was getting from them. It felt like a family here, so I felt like why can I talk to them so openly and I can't talk to my actual family about this? And one day I said, I've had enough support from, my chosen family here. And I need to tell my parents because they're the first ones that should know. So I talked to my parents, and at first, I just couldn't find it within me to talk to my mom about the fact that, even though she brought me into this world, I feel like sometimes I don't want to be here at all. It's very hard, and I've been dealing with it for years. And even before I was diagnosed, I knew I was dealing with this, so I had to tell her. And I told my mom and I told my dad, and at first, of course, it shocked them, but knowing that my mom had been through the same diagnosis, being bipolar, she told me that she experienced these feelings as well. And when I heard it from her, it was just something that made me feel more open to talk about, like, hey, we are talking some real stuff here. Between mom and daughter, that was huge. On top of, the peers that had already talked to me about it. So to hear it from my mother was something that made me feel like this is what I needed to do years ago. I should have done it, but I didn't have the support before to do that. So with all of this support that I've gotten through very tough times, I mean, I got to my peers here just 2 years ago, and in less than a year, I had enough support from them to feel confident enough to talk about this stuff with my family. So I say now, and I will always say that with the support from people that have been through it, and there are so many more people than what I thought out there ready to talk about real things like suicide and self-harm. talking to other people, even when you feel like you're alone, or even when you feel like you don't want to talk to people. I did it, and I feel like it's gotten so much out of me, and it's helped me through the toughest times. And I still do deal with tough times, but the support is always there, and I know, and it makes me feel so much more good with myself.